Now, I should say that there does seem to be some evidence that the congressman may be right, at least in some part. I and my staff have watched the video after video of some of these meetings as they start to get out of control, and we do hear many of the same slogans repeated again and again and again. As a matter of fact, here's some.
Direct assault on our personal liberties, our personal freedom, our personal privacy. You need to open it up to the free markets. You need to get the government the hell out of our way.
There you go. Some of the themes: socialized medicine, give us back our government, let the free markets work, euthanasia, and quote-unquote, read the bill. There are instances where you hear people sound like they're reading from, in fact, the same script, and that's what the White House is now saying as well. But they're even taking it to another step. They're taking it a step forward. They're accusing a specific conservative healthcare executive of orchestrating these protests. That's why we've invited that executive, Rick Scott, to join us here, and he's going to be here in just a moment to try and defend himself. But first, let me bring in Eric Bowler of the liberal media watchdog group Media Matters. Good afternoon, Eric.
Hey, Rick.
Is this thing orchestrated?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, there's nothing wrong with activism. There's nothing wrong with rallying people for a point of view and having your views heard. But it's ironic. Here we have a town hall forum, and basically the entire premise is to shut down any conversation, shut down any debate, yell and heckle and scream and sort of chase congressmen to their cars. That's being orchestrated, and it has really nothing to do with healthcare. It's tapping into, a sort of a radical minority which has a deep-seated hatred of Barack Obama. These town hall forums could be really about any topic, and you could fill in the rhetoric.
But isn't this? I mean, look historically at the United States. Isn't this what our descendants did? Who founded this country in Boston?
This is not the New England town hall meeting.
Why not? Why not?
Because the whole point of that is not to get up and have as many loudmouths in one room and scream and yell and shout at, and insult congressmen. The point of town hall meetings, as we've seen in the last few decades, is to have an actual civil conversation and to have different points of view. This idea that you're going to have these mini mobs run the congressmen out of town, what's that have to do with democracy, and what's that have to do with, any sort of public debate? So the iron...
Okay, I can't watch this shit anymore. I'm actually one of those grassroots people. I don't have my own insurance. But I know what this ObamaCare insurance will do for me. It'll have a system that my grandmother will be terrified of. She's 65 and she is in fear of this thing passing because if it passes, then she'll be considered unable to provide herself with her own insurance. And the government won't provide her with any because she's now at that ripe old age of retirement. You ever notice when people start talking about the bill and they actually read it a little bit, then the politicians decide to say, we're going to add this and this and this. Like Al Sharpton. The guy was talking about his son being handicapped and how that if the bill passes, his son would not get any help whatsoever. And he said, there'll be an amendment for that case. And the father basically said, you're feeding me a crock of shit because my son isn't going to receive that. I already know. Nobody trusts the government anymore. Here's the funny thing about it. When they talk about these town hall meetings, these are people showing up in normal clothes with handmade signs. And the only reason they might have a same saying is because they heard one person say it and they thought it sounded good and they copied after it. And that's how you get something out. These motherfuckers don't seem to understand that when it comes to the politicians, they think they're so right that they won't listen to normal people. They won't listen to our voice. So we come out in droves. When the people scare the government, there's democracy. When the government scares the people, there's tyranny. And this is another sign of this case. What people need to understand is there is no Republicans. There is no Democrats. They're at a pillar together. When two things come together and brace against each other, you make an unbeatable force. So they have to have Democrats to level out the Republicans. With both of these two together, they stand tall. If you take out one, it falls. They're on the same playing field. No matter what happens, it's all the same script. You just gotta figure out a way to find where you stand on the matter. Because time's coming very closely when both the government will pretty much demand what you're doing, where you're going, and they'll want your paperwork on every little thing about you. They're already doing that with the census. If you haven't looked at it, there's a preview of the future census on the internet. Just Google it. And it asks if you have firearms. The one they did, what was it, in 2000? Yeah, the one they did in 2000 asked that question. And I don't want to tell them what I own. I don't want to let them know. And much less hate paying taxes every month. But you gotta understand, when there's a beast, there needs to be a hero. And with a beast this big, there needs to be a lot of heroes. There will be casualties along the way, though. That's to be expected. We're at a time period now where our nation is about to hit another revolutionary war. But it'll be a revolutionary war within itself. Kind of like France. I love how they say we're uneducated. We don't understand what we're talking about. We're stupid. No. We think for ourselves. We want to provide for ourselves. We want the freedom of choice. For if you screw up, someone else doesn't have to pay for it. In the old days, if someone came into your house and tried to rob you, you could shoot and kill them. You would then have to bury that person, but that was all your penalty was. Now if you shoot somebody, the law enforcement comes in. They check out the firearm, they check out everything else. If there's no probable cause, if he doesn't have a weapon, then you're going to jail for manslaughter. You still have a high chance of going to jail then. If you're in your car and a man tries to break in, like what was that case in freaking New England? Man broke into a lady's car, took her, beat her, raped her, and killed her. If she was allowed to carry a firearm, she would still be alive. It's the whole thing of which side are you going to fight on? The understanding side or the sheep? I've been getting a lot of comments, where do I stand? I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in the original founding documents. I believe that a man is a man and not a number. aka social security number. I believe that everybody has their own choice and their own right to do what they want to do with their life. And I believe what's happening now with our government is criminal. It truly is.